This Business Newsmakers is brought to you by Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union. There's a reason people live here. There's a reason people bank here.
Hi everyone, Frank DeRaffele here, and welcome to this week's Business Newsmakers. We're here with Jack Smith of the William A. Smith & Son Insurance, and we're going to tell you some trivia about William A. Smith & Son and what that means. A 90-year-old insurance company here in the Hudson Valley area. And Jack, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Frank. I appreciate it.
Why don't we start with, give us a little history of your company itself, because I think it's kind of an interesting history of how it first got started, and then how many generations you're in now, and then what got you interested in this business. When you were growing up, did you say, like, I want to be an insurance guy, or how did that happen?
All did, of course. So we were started by my grandfather, William A., in 1928 in the city of Newburgh. We're probably one of the oldest continuously running businesses in the city of Newburgh. In the 50s, my dad came back he'd gone to the University of Pennsylvania Wharton School and majored in finance and insurance, and he came back to the agency. And then fast forward, I guess, 30 years, late 80s, my sister Kathy came back after graduate school. She has her Master's of Science in Insurance from the University of Hartford, and she came back. After I graduated from college, I worked for an insurance company for 10 years, and then I sold software, and I lived in the South. Had kids and decided I wanted a different kind of schedule. I didn't want to be on a plane all the time. I thought, doing more local business would be more fun to enable me to be a parent. And so we moved back here from South Carolina, and I always kid the Chamber of Commerce presidents that I should be the poster boy. I moved back from the South, which who does that, And I've subsequently found a few other people who have, but there aren't a lot of us. And then my sister Debbie, who actually moved back, she lived in Texas for 25 years, and she moved back, and so now all three of us and our father are still there, and we've got a cast of about 30 characters spread amongst our 4 offices.
So when you're growing up in your household, was kind of insurance like a common conversation of that's what you want to do in the future, it's where you want to be, because all 3 of you are involved, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's funny because our father never really encouraged or discouraged us from coming into the business, never pushed us at all. My grandfather would often say things to me, but there wasn't any kind of a constant thing. I mean, one of the things I tell people is when I was, 5, 6, 7 years old, if my mom was doing something and my father had to watch me, he'd bring me to the office, and I would grab, at that time, these old paper, triplicate insurance applications, and I would fill them out, pretend my friends were buying auto insurance or something. And so that was my, that was my beginnings.
It's a lot, right?
Yeah. That was my beginnings. And
I was playing with Matchbox.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was doing the other stuff too. But when you're stuck in the office with Dad, you got, there aren't any toys there, and there weren't video games at the time. You gotta figure something out, right? Yeah. So I guess I should have gone into acting maybe, but instead. So then I went away to college and just kind of fell into it, but not totally. It was kind of a planned fall after some of my other plans didn't really pan out. I thought, well, we have this great business, but I want to live in the South. So with some help from my father, I got my resume to the right people, and I started with an insurance carrier, insurance company. And I worked for them for 10 years, and even then, my goal wasn't necessarily to come back here. It was to advance in the career that I had. And as happens to a lot of people, that company started kind of falling apart. They'd made some bad decisions at the upper management level, and that company was called Kemper. They don't even exist really in the form that they did then. So then I moved on. I moved into software, but still in the insurance space. So I sold software to insurance companies and flew around the country doing that. So I hadn't really, progressed too far out of the space. Right. And then I had my kids and talked to my parents and my sister, and they were all, amiable with me moving up, which was great, and so we've been here since 2003. My wife and I and our 2 kids. So, and then my sister Debbie, who moved up from Texas, moved 2 years after me. She came up. I was the test bunny, I guess. You know, everything worked out okay, and
so
nobody hated each other, and so she thought, all right, it's safe for me to come up too.
So you went down south, and your sister went to Texas. That's kind of down south. So what made you initially want to be down south, and then coming back was just a business opportunity coming back? Is that what the motivation was?
You know, I think, well, actually, I lived in Chicago in the interim of all that too. So I always just liked moving around because I grew up in the same house. My parents still live in that same house, and I think there was just some wanderlust in me that wanted to move around different places and try different things. And so both of the 2 jobs before this gave me that opportunity to do so. So that was a lot of fun, and I think, you know, there's a whole story as to how I ended up down south going to college, but I'll not necessarily share that in this interview. But I enjoyed it down there, and it was, you know, the day I visited the college I attended, it was 70 degrees and sunny, and the day before, I think we were shoveling our baseball field here in Cornwall to play. You know, it was in the spring to play a baseball game. So, you know, it didn't really take rocket science at the time to figure out that might be a good move.
Well, it's funny because my whole family, my parents, my sisters are all down in Florida, and been down there for 30 years now. I'm the only one left up here. So my dad, when he had a business in New York City, retired, he always knew he wanted to go to Florida because he loves golf. That's what he wanted to do. Went down. Both my sisters went to the University of Miami and just stayed. And I've threatened to go down about 3 or 4 different times. It was serious, and just hasn't happened. So, but it probably will end up doing something because I love warm weather and do that type of thing.
And this is not the warm weather place.
So
most of the time.
So what have you? Let's talk a little bit about. I mean, you came back, got back involved in the family business, and since you've gotten involved, what have you seen happen with the business? What's been kind of exciting and new that you guys have been up to in the last 10, 15 years?
Absolutely. So when I came back, we had an office in Pine Bush, Newburgh, and Marlboro, and the preponderance of our customers are small businesses and individuals. So for workers' comp, business owners policies, general liability, homeowners, auto, that sort of thing. The industry itself has changed quite a bit with all the technology that's come into play, and given that part of my background was technology, I'm very comfortable with that. So we're trying to incorporate as much as we can value-adding technology for our customers. We're kind of in between the customer, helping and serving them, and the insurance company. And often the insurance companies invest in a lot of software that's also to help the customer, but we're trying to make sure that that we add value in that equation too, both in our advice and in ease of doing business through software innovations. So to me, that's one of the interesting things. The other thing is obviously we've changed our footprint a bit. We don't have an office in Marlboro anymore. We moved Marlboro and Pine Bush to Montgomery, New York, where the Orange County Chamber of Commerce is housed, because we have a partnership with the Chamber of Commerce that serves their members in the health, dental, and vision insurance world, and have done that for quite a long time, but consolidated that. And then in 2009, we came over here. I was living in Dutchess County, and we purchased the Ralph Ellis agency, and so now we have that office in the city of Poughkeepsie and a small office in Millbrook that services those customers as well. So, a little bit of growth, a little bit of different positioning. My background was really larger commercial accounts, and so we've done some more of that. We work with some municipalities in the Hudson Valley. We work with one of the colleges in the Hudson Valley. We've got some really interesting customers. I've got one that's used to be based in the Hudson Valley, and now they're based in Minneapolis, and they're still a customer, and I was out there about a week ago, and it's just, that's a lot of fun to grow with somebody like that and to help them grow too. That's been a lot of fun.
So I've got more of a business question than an insurance question for you. You guys are third generational business, 3 generations going on, around for almost 100 years now. You have a lot of people out there, small business people watching this show, who want their business to do well, want it to survive, want it to be 5, 10, 20, 30 years, and then at one point maybe have their family take it over or sell it along those lines. If you had to go back and look at from your grandfather to your father to now you and your sisters. What would you say has been the maybe there's been multiple key factors, but the key factors to the success of a long-term business like that? Because that's not easy to do, to have a business go from generation to generation, especially with all the changes that have gone on and through the technology and everything else. So from you look at that, what would you say has been kind of the key factors to success for your business?
I think it started with my grandfather and my father and just the culture that they built, and valuing our employees. Our employees are very much like a part of our family. Obviously that's even kind of changed as society's changed, somewhat, but we try as best we can to be a very family-friendly environment. If your son or daughter has a game or they're ill or something's going on in your house, we work with our employees to make sure they can take care of that, because if they're distracted at home, they're not going to take care of our customers. And so I think the majority of our customers are very happy with our employees and their interactions with them, and sometimes we do a really good job of getting out of the way of that, because on a day-to-day basis in insurance, sometimes your customers just need something fast. And as you know, as one of the owners, sometimes you're just running around doing a lot of different things. But we have this great group of people that's in each one of our offices that really care and take care of our customers, and really treat them like they're their own. And so I think that's one of the huge keys. And then I think just our family being, we're normal and we get in arguments, and we're nobody's perfect, but we're all willing to listen to each other and maybe get a little angry, but then step back and think about things and come at things with different approaches and ideas, but being respectful of each other the whole time. I mean, like you said, I work with my father and my two sisters. My wife joined us in September, so she's working in one of our offices too. So we've got a lot of, and we always did. I mean, there was an uncle that worked for my father years ago, like a second cousin, uncle to me. And so I just think it's always been kind of that everybody's as much a part of the family as they can be, and just respecting each other, and then just trying to take really good care of our customers.
Yeah, it sounds to me that the two things I came across when you were talking was that you're customer-centric, everything's about the customer and keeping them happy and satisfied, and it's about building the relationship. Internally and externally is what it sounds like to me. You have a great relationship with your people inside, which then obviously extrapolates out to going out and having that relationship with people on the outside. So let me just ask, one other question would be, with insurances today, you have television, a lot of advertising going on. You got online, people can go on and do their own insurance type thing however they want, in different online. So you've obviously been able to compete with that. And what's something that you think, kind of a piece of advice for people, because everybody's looking to try and get the insurance they need at the lowest rate that they possibly can, and then they can get all these promises made on TV and online. What do you think is the most important thing for people to look at when they're looking at insurance, no matter what company it is, to say, this is how you make sure you're getting the right thing?
Yeah, I think insurance is more complex than people think, because it's been made to be portrayed as just being this easy thing. Sure. And once somebody needs to use it, they generally find that it's a lot more complicated than they thought it was. And so I think what somebody needs to do is find somebody that they trust, who they think is going to add value to whatever they're paying. If you go online and that online capability is adding value to your life in some way and giving you good advice, then maybe that's the right medium for you. If they're not, and you need to speak to a person, whomever that person might be, then that's maybe the right medium for you. But you can't, as a small business person or a homeowner, you can't know everything, and so you've got to find people or places that you can trust that do know about what it is you're trying to purchase or investigate, I think. And I think that's where we add value, and I think that's where those other spaces want to try to add value. And honestly, if you look at the landscape of players, most of those who didn't have agents in their toolkit have chosen to also add agents to their toolkit, because they understand that people like to do business with people that they know and trust and are maybe local to their community and know their kids or whatever. It's not just always about, you can save money and get good advice at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
So a couple quick personal questions.
Yeah.
Your favorite type of music?
Oh God, I like every kind of music, from my son's crazy rap music to classical music.
So if tomorrow I was going to send you to a concert, you could be anybody in history, now who would it be?
Now see, that would be different. That would either be like Billy Joel or Bruce Springsteen, or same era, different, I guess, genre of music, the Talking Heads, if they came back together. That's kind of my,
Okay. Something no one knows about you that you're going to share here publicly.
Wow, I'm a pretty open book. My hair color's real? I don't know.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And you said at the beginning of the interview that your grandfather was the original, he was William A. So my question is, when you went around the house, did you call him Grandpa, or did you have to call him William A?
No, he was Grandpa to us. He was William A. I think my mom called him William A, but he was definitely he was Grandpa to us. He was a great guy to us.
Well, thank you for being with us here today. Appreciate you taking the time to be on Business Newsmakers. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in to Business Newsmakers this week. Our guest again was Jack Smith from William A. Smith Insurance Company. Every week we'll have somebody new. Take a look at this. If you like it, please share it with everybody that you know. Have a fantastic week.